Today, on the sacred occasion of Narasimha Chaturdashi, I will speak on the topic of Krishna's or God's love for us and our love for God. Specifically, I'll talk about the topic of does God care? There are so many things that go wrong in the world. So many things go wrong in our own lives. And when such things happen, it's natural to get this question that even if we accept that God exists, does God care? And Lord Narasimha, He is God in whatever manifestations, conceptions of God are there across the world. Lord Narasimha is among the angriest manifestations. So, the Lord, His anger is actually a demonstration that He cares. So, generally we get angry about things that we care about. And His very anger and the very form that He's manifesting out of anger, that indicates that He cares deeply. So, the Lord in His form of Narasimha is half man, He's half lion. He's half man, half lion, and full God. He's fully manifesting divinity, especially in the divine matter of divine power and divine, specifically, anger. So, I have recently written a small book on the Bhagavad-Gita. It is prayers inspired by the Buddha. Can all of you see this?
Yes.
So, we will read something from this book and how it relates to the theme of how the Lord cares and what does it mean. So basically in this book I have taken verses from the Bhagavad-Gita and used them as inspirations for offering prayers to the Lord. The Gita is not just a source of wisdom. The Gita is not different from Krishna. So Gita's verses are like mantras. They are also like Krishna's. So we can offer prayers inspired by those verses. So I'll take one such verse and then we'll talk about the Lord's. So basically, in this book there's one beautiful picture of deity of Krishna on each page. Then there is one prayer which is like a spiritual or emotional affirmation. Then there's a Gita verse, then there's a translation of the Gita verse in a poetic form so that you can feel a more emotional connect with Krishna and with the words of the Gita. After all, the Gita is a song. But sometimes the philosophy of the Gita, we may forget that it's a song. And then there is a prayer offered based on that. So I will talk about this. So I'll read something out. Do we have a second mic by any chance? Or second mic for people to ask or read or something like that?
We can set one up.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. No, that's okay. So anyway, so you can repeat after me. You just repeat. My dear Lord, let your smiling amid my suffering strengthen my faith, not weaken it. So, this is the context of the Bhagavad-Gita. Krishna is just beginning to speak to Arjuna. Krishna starts speaking from 2.11. This is 2.10. So those of you comfortable with Sanskrit, you can recite the words after me. Tamuvacha Rishikeshah Rahasanniva Bharata Senayor Madhye Vishidantam idam vachaha. The Lord of the senses spoke with a gentle grace, a knowing smile playing upon his divine face. Between the armies, standing calm and bright, he solaced Arjuna, who was lamenting his plight. So this is Krishna and Arjuna in the middle of the battlefield. And the key point in this verse is that the contrast. Arjuna is crying, Arjuna is in tears, and Krishna is smiling. So I was talking with one devotee, child, born in a devotee family, young adult now. So I don't like to go to the temple. I said, okay. There are different people are born in devotee families, sometimes they have different reasons. What is the reason? He says, I have so many problems in my life. Whenever I go to the temple, Krishna is just smiling all the time. Does Krishna even care for me? Does Krishna even, all the issues that I am going through in my life, does Krishna even care? So yes, it can appear that we are facing so many challenges in life, and does Krishna care? Now, we may have some challenges. If we look at the story of Prahlad and Narasimha, Prahlad faced far more challenges than what he faced. It were not just challenges, it were threats to his life. And if you see, Prahlad could have had the reason to ask this question even more than us, in many ways. Because for him, our problems may come from many sources. Generally, when we face problems in life, the problems are broadly because of three factors. The problems may come because of just the nature of the world. Nature of the world means that if we live in a place which is very cold, and we complain, it's so cold, it's so cold, it's so cold. The others will say, what you're saying is so old, so old, so old. Get used to it, that's how it is. Sometimes the problems may come because of the nature, or more precisely, it could be nature or behavior of people. That sometimes there are people who trouble us, people who hurt us. So nature of the world, that broadly in the Vedic context is called as Adi Daivik Krish, just the nature of the world. Then there is Adi Bhautik Krish, nature of people or the behavior of people. So there could be mosquitoes which bite us, and there could be human beings who bite. Not bite, they kill. They say Mujahideen. There are mosquitoes, there is Mujahideen, and then there is mother-in-law. So we have problems coming from people around us. The nature of people or the behavior of people. And then the third source of problem is the nature or behavior of ourselves. This is sometimes a hard pill to swallow, but many times if you see the problems that have come in our life, they have come because of our own actions. Sometimes we get angry over trivial things. Sometimes we end up indulging in ways we should not be indulging. Sometimes we make some rash moves, and then we get into trouble. So these are broadly, they are Adi Atmik. So now, when the sufferings come in life, naturally we may turn towards God. Please help me. Please help me, O Lord. So when sufferings come because of the nature of the world, that's one thing. You just have to, okay, you have to live with it. Now, in the case of Prahlad, so this boy, I was talking with him afterwards. It was typical teenage adolescence, which is going through that phase. The hormones are growing, one is trying to deal with peer pressure, trying to find one's place in life. It's a difficult phase. I have done some writing seminars, I attended some, I have conducted some also. So many times people say that, I would like to write but I don't have ideas. Where do you get ideas to write? Some people have too many ideas, but they don't have the patience to translate the ideas into reality. So one of the answers I give is, if you have survived teenage, you have enough stories to tell for a lifetime. Especially if you have survived teenage in a culture that is radically different from our traditional culture, our family culture. This is a very tough period. So there are just growth pains that are there. But if we consider the situation of Prahlad, his pains, we could say, among these three, which are the category of the pains we say? Was it because of nature of the world, nature of people, nature of others, his own behavior? Which was it?
Nature of people.
Sorry?
Second, people.
Nature of people.
What was the cause of his suffering?
Nature of people.
Nature of people. Which person was it? Hiranyakashipu. So it's interesting. how the Bhagavatam is depicting this, or how the story unfolds, that his own father is out to kill him. And this is about to happen. It is probably for a child who is growing up, it's the most psychologically scarring thing that can be imagined. The person who is supposed to be a protector, now sometimes the parents are just negligent. That itself is a problem. But if the parent is violent, now it is violent maybe because of, okay, they will drink alcohol and maybe alcohol abuse leads to domestic violence, something like that. That's terrible. But it is not like anger that is causing come from somewhere else and this person, the child gets caught in the crossfire. It is anger directed at the child itself. And it's knowingly, it's not just like a rush of temper. We'll talk about why it is not. It can be enormously scarring for a person, for a child who is growing up. The very person who is supposed to be a protector is out to destroy me. So what kind of world is this? What kind of God would be there who would allow such a thing to happen in the world? So he could easily have asked this question. And now why was his father angry with him? Because of his devotion. So he could say that, Prahlad could have said that it is not because of the nature of the world that this problem is coming. The problems are solely because of my devotion to you. Isn't it? It's all, not all, but the main thing Hiranyakashipu wanted was that, Prahlad, you stop worshipping Vishnu. He considered the worship of Vishnu to be like a disease. He says, this is a terrible thing, you should stop it right away. See, for us, most of the times we consider the relationship, if we are practicing devotion, and our situation in the world. So, whatever situation we are going to do, if we practice devotion, we expect that the devotion should improve our situation. Now that in many ways in which we may expect it to improve, in the past it was more of a karma kanda where God, that, oh Father, thou art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, give us our daily bread. So people in the past would look for physical needs, physical improvement. Oh, let there be rain so that there be harvest and bounty. Now people may turn towards God, not so much for physical needs, but more for psychological needs. Oh God, please give me peace of mind. One of the most common reasons if you ask people, why do you come to a temple? It is, not many people come because of love for God. There's nothing wrong with it. Krishna appreciates whatever reason we come. We come for peace of mind. And that is also an improvement. And it's a big improvement. So it's very, we can't just buy peace of mind with a pill. So we expect that our devotion should improve our worldly situation. Now in the case of Prahlad, his devotion itself is the cause of the worsening of his worldly situation. Now when this happens, we practice bhakti. Srila Prabhupada gives a very wonderful definition of Krishna consciousness. He asks, how do we know that we are Krishna conscious? So he says, if you come in front of the temple, come in front of the deity. And if you feel the deity is asking us, Krishna is asking us, what are you doing for me? What are you doing for me? We are all meant to be of loving service to the Lord. So, naturally, the Lord will ask, what service are you doing? So, if we have that mood, if you feel that Krishna is asking me, what are you doing for me? That is Krishna consciousness. Now, many times when people come to a temple, their question is, God, what are you doing for me? I have this problem, and I did this puja, and I did this tapas. It's time for you. It's time for you to pay up now. Come on, do something. So, normally we expect our devotion to improve our situation. And if even the situation does not improve, we get agitated. We start thinking, should I even be worshipping God? Okay, bye-bye, I think this is not working for us. So now, but if our situation starts worsening because of our devotional practice, then naturally the question will come up, does God even care? So problems are coming and problems are coming because of our devotion itself. Then shouldn't the Lord be protecting us? It's an obligation of the Lord. He should be protecting me. Why is He not protected? Because the question comes, does the Lord care? So Prahlad could naturally have asked this question. And it is natural for any person when they are practicing bhakti to get the question. So let's look a little bit at the prayer over here. So do we have another mic?
No,
Okay,
it's
so-
going to take some time.
No, sorry. No. So maybe someone has a mic in their throat. Somebody who can read it loudly. Oh, sure, please. Can you read the first paragraph?
O my Lord, many are the times when I feel lost and lonely, confronted with the perplexities of life. At those times, when nothing I do seems to be working, I cannot help but wonder, do you, O Lord, know my plight?
Yes. So now we may theoretically know that Krishna is omniscient. Krishna knows everything. But does Krishna know about my situation right now? And if Krishna knows, does he care for the situation? So Prahlad is being threatened. He was practicing his devotion and he was not even trying to impose his devotion on his father. It was only when his father would ask some questions, that's the time he would speak. He what did you learn in your school? And he would speak sublimely sweet points. And those sublimely sweet points would drive his father into a wild rage. So, and his father, it's like the story, the way it goes, we will go over the story and especially focusing on the climax when Lord Narasimha appears, how things emerge at that particular time. So essentially, we see the descent into depravity, into brutality. Hiranyakashipu is a brutal person, but even everybody, no matter how bad they have some boundaries. That say, if somebody is a criminal, they say, I want to rob, but I don't want to hurt anyone. Or even somebody wants to rob, they say, I don't want to kill anyone. Even somebody is a killer, okay, I will kill, but I don't want to kill children. So everybody has certain boundaries. So initially, when Hiranyakashipu sees that his son is talking about bhakti, Hiranyakashipu has defined his life by being anti-God. He is not just an atheist, he is an anti-theist. Anti-theist. His purpose of life is to destroy Vishnu. He thinks that I will perform more and more austerities, and by the power of tapasya, I will destroy Vishnu. And he thinks that Vishnu is so scared of me, Vishnu has disappeared. So I can't find Vishnu anywhere. If I find him, I'll destroy him. But till I can't destroy him, I will destroy all signs of worship of him. And that's why he sends his demons to destroy all the sacred places, all the Yajnasthalis. Right now we have a Yajna over here. So I was watching that Yajna, I was remembering this pastor, and this pastor was the pastor in the house. What he said is, destroy all signs of worship of him. That it's like if he has a great ego, and people who have a lot of ego, what happens? The one thing they cannot tolerate is being ignored. You have a person has a lot of ego and they come to a particular place and nobody notices them. They get enraged. So now he has a lot of ego. He wants to throw around his weight and dominate people. So he thinks Vishnu is like that. So he thinks that if I stop the worship of Vishnu, if I completely end the worship of Vishnu, then Vishnu, because of his ego, will come out from wherever he is. And then I can catch him and I can kill him. That's why he stops all the worship. And then the situation is he stops the worship of Vishnu practically all over the universe. And then he finds that very worship of Vishnu which has stopped all over the universe, that worship is happening in his own home. So this is infuriating for him. And he thinks that, so he thinks, okay, my child is a small child. So normally what we try to do is that if we like someone, then even if they do something bad, we try to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's how it should be. That if we like someone and say they eat too much food, maybe we have prepared a meal for 4 people and they eat the meal of 3 people. And then one person has to, the remaining 3 people have to share one person meal. Or maybe they have a special dessert and they eat too much of the dessert. Then if we dislike that person, we will say, so what a glutton, no sense control. But if we like that person, we will say, oh, maybe he was very hungry. Maybe he didn't know that there was limited food. We'll try to give them the benefit of the doubt. So generally what happens, we try to find the blame somewhere else. So like that Hiranyakashipu says, okay, my son is nice, but maybe some of these Vaishnavas have somehow come and infected him. So although he has tried to remove all devotion, but he still knows that some people who still are practicing bhakti. So he first warns his students, his teachers, you should watch out. You should not let my child associate with bad people. So for him, devotees are bad people. Don't associate, don't let them associate. And then he lets them off with a warning. Second time it happens. Again Prahlad says the same thing. This time he's angrier. Just knocks Prahlad down. And then he again calls his teachers. He says, okay, now we'll take care of it. So now, the sequence that is described in different narratives, there is the Bhagavatam, there is the Narasimha Puran, there is the Vishnu Puran, there are other Puranas where sometimes some narrative the sequence is described slightly differently. This could refer to how different kalpas things happen. But the point is that slowly he starts recognizing, first he blames the Vaishnavas who are coming, then he blames his teachers, his students' teachers. You are not taking care. And then finally he says that this child is the problem. And then there is a difference between anger and hate. So anger generally is hot-headed. When we are angry about something, it arises from the circumstances and it stays for some time. Anger is hot-headed. But what Hiranyakashipu exhibits is not anger, it is hate. Hate is cold-blooded. It is not just one moment of anger that says, oh, this Prahlad needs to be killed. We all may speak like that. I'll kill you if you do this. One devotee recently showed me that child had run away, and then the child came back. And then I was talking with the child. It was just a small misunderstanding. The child had just taken too seriously. The parents, but the father showed me a small clipping, and they were laughing. So there's a mother. Her daughter has run away, and she's a Christian mother. She's praying to God. Oh God, please let my child be safe, and let her come home safely, so that I can kill her. So the idea here is that sometimes we may use the word "I'll kill you." No, that's in a very non-literal sense, and it's an expression of anger. But in this case, it was real. He said that if a part of the body gets infected, then we need to cut out the part, otherwise everything will get infected. So he says, like that, Prahlad has become infected. And therefore, I need to kill him. So see, here what he's doing is, sometimes when we do something bad, we might just do it in a rage. So when anger comes up, anger just sidelines our intelligence. Sidelines means this pushes aside. But when hate comes, hate doesn't sideline the intelligence. Hate recruits the intelligence. Recruits the intelligence means we use our intelligence to make a plan, how to do it and how to justify it also afterwards. This is where we rationalize. And if you heard the word rationalize, so when we rationalize, what happens? We tell rational lies. When we rationalize, we tell rational lies. So he's justifying the killing of his own son by saying this is like a disease and the disease has to be removed. So then he tries to kill. No, I was talking earlier about boundaries. Even bad people have some boundaries. One of my friends is a warden for a jail. So he says, even among prisoners, if the prisoners come to know that some other prisoners come to jail because of some child abuse, even prisoners don't like such a person. Generally, those who are child abusers are kept in some, they have to be kept in seclusion, solitary confinement. Otherwise, prisoners will harm that person there. So everybody has boundaries. So even Hiranyakashipu has some boundaries initially. He thinks this is my son, I cannot kill him. So he tells others to do the dirty work. He says, he adds assistants, you kill him. Now they all try to kill him, but none of them succeed. And often this is seen as a miracle. And yes, it is. That the miracle is, he's thrown down a mountain and nothing happens to him. He's kept in a burning fire. He is bitten by snakes. He's put in the path of trampeding elephants. And none of those efforts, they injure him. So that is a miracle. However, if you look at the Vaishnava Acharya's commentaries, we look at the Bhakti tradition's commentary, that is not the biggest miracle. See, miracles are basically, broadly they could be of two kinds. One is things that happen to us. Things that happen to us. To us means that something astonishing happens. So here he's threatened and he has no power. Prahlad is just a small 5-year-old boy. As a 5-year-old boy, how can he defend against anyone? He just can't. He survives. So that's a miracle. But if you look at the Bhakti tradition's commentaries, the bigger miracle is not his safety. That his safety is definitely a miracle. But the bigger miracle is the things that happen through us. That the bigger miracle is his purity, his determination, his devotion. The technical word is fidelity. Fidelity is faithfulness. That despite all this happening, his devotion is not shaken. And that is the bigger miracle. Now, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes be asked, Swamiji, can you perform some miracles? And Prabhupada would often point to some of his disciples and he would say, these are my miracles. But what is the miracle over here? The biggest miracle that matters is the change of the human heart. There can be many miracles. You can have somebody can make an object disappear, somebody can make an object appear. Many different kinds of miracles can happen and they have some value. But the biggest miracle is the change of the human heart. The change of the heart means what? If a person's heart is directed towards selfishness, towards ego, towards dominating others, and that person becomes selfless, gentle, caring. That's the change of heart. That's the miracle which will actually bring real happiness in our hearts, and that's the miracle that will bring happiness in the world. So, the miracle from the Bhakti tradition is not just that Prahlad survived all these attacks. That is true. But also that Prahlad's devotion survived. Prahlad's fidelity to the Lord, his faithfulness to the Lord was unshaken. Not even once did he have second thoughts whether I should worship the Lord or not. And that is the glory of Srila Prabhupada also. Srila Prabhupada came to America. In many ways, everything that could go wrong went wrong. You know, if some people believe a lot in fate and some people believe in science, you know, okay, this indicates that God wants me to do this, this indicates that God wants me to do that. Now, sometimes science can tell us something, but if you look at the signs of what happened, there are so many signs for Prabhupada. Right on his journey, he got a heart attack. Hey, this is a sign God doesn't want me to do this. And then, after that, everywhere he went, he was in Butler, Pennsylvania, his host treated him like a curiosity object, not a spiritual teacher. They didn't want to hear from him. Then he got to New York, and there the person said that, okay, you can sing, but you can't speak. Because his philosophy was different. And finally, Prabhupada came to the counterculture, and just when something good seemed to be happening, there's one person, David Allen, who seemed to be about to be very interested. He said, I want to become your disciple. He seemed very interested in becoming a devotee. And Prabhupada wrote a letter to one of his patrons in India, his well-wishers in India, saying that he may become the first American Vaishnava. And then what happened? This person went on. He used to take drugs before. He had a drug relapse, and he went crazy and he came to attack Prabhupada. And there was no miraculous Narasimha coming at that time to protect Prabhupada. Prabhupada said to leave that place. And when Prabhupada left, it was not just a physical threat that he survived. No, it is much more the amount of demoralization you have suffered at that time. And the person who is supposed to become a devotee, that person flips and becomes crazy and attacks. Naturally, he could have raised the question, could have got the question, well, is this mission even worthwhile? Will these people ever change? So the fact that Prabhupada did not give up his mission, that itself is a miracle. Even if Srila Prabhupada had not succeeded, the fact that Prabhupada built 108 temples and wrote 70 books and inspired millions of people to become devotees, that is definitely miraculous. But the fact that Srila Prabhupada's devotion survived all the tests, that is also a miracle. So Prahlad's devotion surviving is a miracle. And when the threats come in our life, like that question comes, does God care? So, when the whole world seems to be screaming to us, no, he doesn't care. No, if God had been caring, why would Prahlad be subject to such a danger? Why would Prabhupada have his prospective disciple turn against him and be ready to attack him? So when the world's evidence seems to be screaming to us, no, God doesn't care. At that time, are we ready to turn away from the world? Are we ready to hear a source beyond the world? So that is what Prahlad was doing. Let's look at the next paragraph. Would anyone else like to read?
Sure.
Yes, please. Yeah.
If you do know, is that the one you want me to read it?
Perfect. Yes. Yes, please. Yes, if you do know.
If you do know my suffering, then why do you not step forward to stop it? If instead of stepping forward to help me, I came to know that in those moments you were smiling while I was suffering, oh Lord, how would I be able to maintain my devotion to you?
Thank you. So, basically, here Arjuna is suffering and Krishna is smiling. So if we come to know that when we are going through some terrible situation, the Lord is smiling, do you even care? How can you be smiling in such a situation? If somebody goes to a therapist and the person is breaking down and the therapist is smiling, probably the client will sue the therapist for emotional wounds, emotional injury. Isn't it? How can Krishna be smiling at such a time? So at such times, when the world's evidence doesn't seem to support our devotion, that's the time we need to look beyond the world. We need to look at scriptures. We look at the times in scriptures when there have been interactions between devotees and the Lord. Because Krishna has arranged this world in such a way that the evidence of the world will always be mixed. That sometimes the evidence of the world will strengthen our faith in God. And sometimes the evidence of the world will question our faith in God. Why? Because this world is made for those souls who do not want to have anything to do with God. And when I was introduced to Bhakti about 30 years ago, I started, actually I was introduced to Bhakti in my childhood, but I was reintroduced to the philosophical dimension of Bhakti through Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So I became very enthusiastic. I started sharing about it with all my friends, relatives. So one of my uncles told me, I have a very good relationship with God. I had not seen him ever go to any temple or do any kind of worship. What do you mean by good relationship? He says, our relationship is mutual non-interference. He says, he's happy there, I am happy here. So some people say that I don't have anything to do with God. I don't need God for anything. So for people that, does God care? Yeah, I don't care if God cares or not. Yes, we can be apathetic towards it. But for those who are a bit devotionally minded, so people may come to such conclusions because the world's evidence will never be completely unambiguous. So there's saying that believers need no reasons, non-believers accept no reasons. So the world is such that believers, those who have faith, they will have experiences from within their hearts that will confirm their devotion for them. And those who are non-believers, they will come up with some explanations for some reductionistic explanations. Oh, this doesn't go in. So that's how things will go on. So that's why we cannot rely on our eyes alone for the evidence of God's presence, God's caring, God's love. But in history, there are some times when this veil of Maya breaks and then the Lord appears and the Lord's love manifests in the world. And those are the times when we need to dwell on. Those are the times which should become the homes for our heart, the homes for our thoughts. And it is by remembering those incidents that we gain strength, we gain perspective. No. Every tradition has some founding stories. So for example, the Jewish tradition, the journey of the people to the chosen land, that's the story that they derive strength from. In our tradition, it is the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, it is the Bhagavad-Gita. Why? Because in daily history, we may not see God's hands all the time. But there are some times in history that God's hand is seen. And those who are to be devoted, they need to be able to remember those times. And that's how we can sustain our faith. So, can we go to the next part? Who would like to read? Any other lady, Vaishnavis? Yes, please.
Princess, bless.
Bless me, yeah.
Bless me to remember, O Lord, that you are never smiling because I am suffering. It is through my suffering that I am becoming more open to your calling. You know my pain. You feel my pain. And you want to heal my pain. In me, you stand ready and eager to free me from all pain.
Yes, thank you. So, Krishna is not smiling because we are suffering. Krishna is smiling because, say, if there's a doctor, and sometimes some doctors, they can observe someone and they can say, oh, you got this scurvy, you got this disease, you got this disease. But the patient is in denial. I don't have any disease. So then, if the disease symptoms worsen slightly, and that's when the patient comes to the doctor. Please, I need your help. So the doctor smiles not because the patient is suffering, but because the patient has come to a place where they will get cured. So it is that when we are going through difficulties, it is not that Krishna doesn't know our difficulties. We can read this once again. Can repeat it. You, my Lord,
You, my Lord,
you know my pain.
you know my pain.
You feel my pain.
You feel my pain.
And you want to heal my pain.
And you want to heal my pain.
So the Lord is there, not just somewhere up there high in the sky, far away. The Lord is in here with us in our own hearts at the Paramatma. So He knows what we are going through. And if He is not intervening, there's a reason for that. Now what is that reason? We'll talk about that and I'll conclude. So this last part will take 2 hours. But not really. So basically, what we'll talk about is this one graph which is 4-quadrant diagram which explains this concept. So there is love and there is anger. Now, love and anger, can both of them go together? Well, there are 4 possibilities. If there is no love at all and there is no anger, then there is simply apathy. I don't care for you, and because I don't care for you, I don't care what you do also. Once I was trying to do mediation between 2 people, and one of them said, I know you are angry with me, to the other person. I said, no, I'm not angry with you. Anger is an expensive emotion, and I have decided you are not worth it. If somebody starts a mediation like that, that mediation is not very likely to be successful. But if we don't care for a person at all, that's apathy. Now, if there is no love and there is anger, then that is enmity. So there is love, no love at all, there is hate. The opposite of love would be hate. And especially if there is anger, then that is enmity. Now, as far as Krishna is concerned, Krishna is never in this category. Krishna always loves everyone. So we are talking not from our love perspective, we are talking about the Lord's love. We are talking about does the Lord care? Does the Lord care? So this category of apathy or enmity, Krishna says, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. I am the well-wisher of all living beings. So we'll talk shortly about how he is a well-wisher even of Hiranyakashipu, although he is angry with him. Now if there is love and there is no anger, that is sweet expressions of love are there. So when we are with someone who cares for us, it's a very peaceful, sweet ambience. Now we could talk about romantic love, where there's a lot of emotions and hormones and all that. But when there is not those hormonal kind of infatuation, but here there is a deep sense of peace that is there. We can call it serenity. When there is love and there is nothing to agitate the mind, we just being happy. We are happy with being with that person. So that is serenity. And there are times when there is love and there is anger. And that actually shows the intensity of the love. So now love can be seen in both ways, through the absence of anger and through the presence of anger. Say for example, somebody has done something which hurts us a lot. But because we care for that person, we don't yell at that person. We try to stay calm. That shows love. Normally, we would get very angry and we yell at the person, but because that person is very important for us, we try to stay calm. So that's one aspect of it. Now, suppose a child has done something terrible. Child is playing in the middle of the road. The mother screams at the child, "What are you doing? I told you don't play over there." The child may get angry, mother may get angry and yell at the child. Mother may give a scolding to the child. But that scolding is also an expression of love. Now, scolding should never be the only expression of love. Then what happens in love is not seen at all. But the thing is that it is only because I care for you that I am angry. So, sometimes we will be angry with the child itself for having done some mischief, or if somebody is hurting our child. We get angry with that person, that could also be a sign of love. So the point is that in the world, when Krishna's love is there, when a devotee is going through suffering, it is not that Krishna does not care. So most of the times, that love is seen through the serenity of Krishna. Most of the times what happens is, Krishna is serene. Now we talk about Krishna is serene, and there are a few times in history when Krishna's anger comes out. That Krishna's love is expressed through his anger. So now when Krishna is serene, Krishna is peaceful, that does it mean Krishna doesn't care? Well, not exactly. Krishna cares, and Krishna shows his care by enabling us to also experience serenity even in the middle of the anger, even in the middle of the pain. So this is the amazing thing of bhakti, that in bhakti, we say, what is God doing for me? Does God care? If by bhakti, it's not just emotion, it's not how much we dance in kirtans. It is not how much we roll in ecstasy. A bhakti is actually how much is our heart centered on Krishna. How much do our thoughts find their home in Krishna. Our thoughts' home is in Krishna. What does it mean? See, we may, for various jobs, we may go to various places, but various jobs, we may go to various places, but as soon as the job is done, we come back home. So like that, we may have to think of various things in the world, but as soon as the things are dealt with, our thoughts come back to Krishna. So for us, when we practice bhakti, what happens is almost mystical. There's an internal effect of bhakti and there's an external effect of bhakti. The internal effect of bhakti will be that we will find that we are peaceful even in chaos. That if we start practicing bhakti, how do we know Krishna is caring? The external problems are there. But in the past, those problems would have shaken us, shattered us. Now, when we start practicing bhakti, those problems don't seem to affect us so much. And that is Krishna acting from within our heart to calm us. Now, Krishna can do that, Krishna will do that, but we need to turn towards Him. We need to fix our mind on Him. We need to remember Him. And that's what I said is the miracle. So was Lord Narasimha Dev not helping Prahlad during all the time when he was being persecuted? Yes, Lord Narasimha Dev was there. And it was because of the Lord's presence in Prahlad's heart that Prahlad could stay calm. Prahlad was not affected. So this is something which, like earlier I said, people feel peaceful when they come to the temple. How does it happen? Actually, they're coming closer to the presence of Krishna. So essentially, when we grow spiritually, when we habituate ourselves to remembering Krishna, regularly we practice bhakti, we come to a temple, we do our mantra japa, we do our puja. What happens? Initially for us, the world is very big and Krishna is very small. And in fact, this is what Indra says in his prayers. He says, we used to worship you before, but this Hiranyakashipu was terrorizing us. And that's why we had to stop worshipping you. But now we have removed this terror of Hiranyakashipu, we'll start worshipping you. That means his worship was quite conditional. The conditions are not good, I will not worship you. So the world is very big, the worldly conditions are very big. But as we grow spiritually, as we become advanced devotees, the world becomes small and Krishna becomes big for us. So this was the situation of Indra and this was the situation of Prahlad. And so although there was a huge threat for Prahlad, for him the world was small. He knew Krishna was pleased with him and he was worshipping Krishna. So if the world is big, then what happens? The world's ups and downs, they also become very big. Sometimes our mind makes them even more big. But if the world is small, and the world's ups and downs also become very small. So that's how, as devotees, if we practice bhakti regularly, we will find that our resilience will increase. That life will still batter us with problems, but we won't be that affected by the problems. The problems will not shake and shatter us to that degree. because we will have a connection with our Lord. And that the Lord is the bigger reality. The Lord has a bigger plan for us. So when we understand Krishna is the bigger reality, Krishna, the world is smaller, Krishna will take care of the things in the world in due course. When a devotee, if we have the devotional vision, what happens is, I understand that my vision is a finite vision. And this finite vision is not the final vision. The finite vision is not the final vision. So right now, within my finite experience, I may not be seeing Krishna intervening and helping me. But this is not the final vision. There are times when Krishna has helped me in the past, there are times when Krishna will help me in the future. Right now, let me not make my present experience the basis of all my decisions. So Krishna, when he doesn't seem to be active, he doesn't seem to be doing anything, he doesn't seem to be concerned, he's still active and he's giving us strength and serenity from within. Majjitta sarva durgani madprasadat tarishyati. Krishna says, if you just become conscious of me, you will pass over the obstacles of the world. What does that mean? The world along with its obstacles will become smaller. And by my connection with you, you will become big enough to go over those problems. So Krishna's love is seen by the peace that we experience when we go through difficulties. Many of you know that I have polio. So in 2011, I was once doing chanting in one of the temples in India. And I was chanting, I didn't notice there was somewhere, at those time I was not using crutches, I used to wear a brace. I was a brace and a walking stick. So I was walking and I didn't notice that there was a little water over there somewhere. And my leg went into the water and I just slipped. I slipped and I completely fell. And this leg was already very weak because of polio. And I had osteoporosis and other things. And when I fell, it was a minor fall, but it was a severe fracture. It was several hours of surgery had to be done. And I have an old friend who was an atheist. He said to me, he wrote an email saying that you were in the temple of God. You were chanting the names of God. And at that time you had an accident. So, what is the use of your worshiping God? So, actually that was one of the most transformative spiritual experiences for me. I fell and I was terrible pain. I tried to chant, but I just couldn't focus on chanting. See, bhakti is not mechanical. So, the way I connect with Krishna the most is through the Bhagavad-Gita. Reciting the Bhagavad-Gita's verses, remembering the Bhagavad-Gita's verses, contemplating. And for the Gita's verses are not just sources of wisdom, they are like personal friends for me. So somehow at that time, I started reciting the Gita's verses. And I started reciting the verses of the Gita, and I felt as if the pain just disappeared. I said, what happened? And then I stopped chanting, again the pain just came back. And initially we thought because it was not a very big fall, we thought it was not a problem. But the pain kept persisting. Then we went to a doctor, the doctor made us x-ray and he said, hey, you must be in severe pain. I said, okay. I was chanting the Gita's verses, so in that it took 2-3 hours for us to do the x-ray, and then we had ambulance, we went to a nearby hospital where they said you have to do a surgery immediately. In those 2-3 hours, I chanted almost the entire Bhagavad-Gita. And I found that I was almost lifted above the pain. When I came to the hospital where we have devotee hospital in Mumbai, Bhaktivedanta Hospital, I came there. Doctor, we said, emergency, what is the problem? He said, this was on the x-ray. I said, whose x-ray is this? So I said, it's my x-ray. He says, no, he says, a person this much, this kind of fracture will be screaming in pain. So, now, I was reciting the Gita's verses and experienced so much relief. Now, I was chanting the Gita's verses, not out of devotion to Krishna, but out of wanting to avoid the pain. But I hope one day I will chant with devotion. But the point was, when I told him this, see, the same experience, which from an atheistic perspective would be, what is the point of worshipping God? In the temple of God, while chanting the names of God, you fell down and you had an accident. But that same experience from an external perspective and internal perspective is very different. Now that was one of the experiences that convinced me about the reality of Krishna consciousness to elevate us above our body situation. That doesn't mean we get ourselves into pain unnecessarily. It's not that we put ourselves in pain and say, let us see if I will remember Krishna, I can go about it. No, not like that. But the point is that Krishna may not seem to be intervening, but Krishna is intervening. So, for Prahlad, the fact that Krishna was there was what enabled him to stay fixed in his devotion. And there are times when Krishna manifests his anger. So finally, when Hiranyakashipu decided enough is enough, what happened? He sent his son back to school and he said, let's see, maybe this is just a phase that we will go through. Some people think when we practice bhakti, it's an infatuation, it will go away. So maybe this is a phase. So, but then what happened was, his teachers came back and said, instead of his phase going away, all our students are going away. He has infected all our students, everybody has become a devotee now. His father said, now I will take matters in my own hands. He wanted to not just kill Prahlad himself, he first wanted to kill Prahlad's spirit. And therefore he said, where is your Vishnu? You claim to worship him, you claim to see, say he is everywhere. Is he here in this pillar? And Prahlad said, very nonchalantly, like almost a matter of fact, yeah, of course he is there. And then Hiranyakashipu was fully confident that he will now prove Prahlad to be false. Which the problem with the world is that often the foolish people are super confident. And the bigger problem with the world is that the wise people are super doubtful. So atheists are confident there is no God. And theists are worried, will God, is there God, really there will God help me? So Hiranyakashipu was super confident, he slammed the pillar. And he slammed the pillar, suddenly a sound came that made his blood curdle. And he was a seasoned warrior, but this sound was so scary. And this time when the Lord manifested, Stambhe Sabhaya Namrugam Namanusham Adrushta, that a form that had never been seen before, that form was seen. Namrugam Namanusham, nor an animal nor a human being. The Hiranyakashipu had many blessings by which he thought he would never be killed. But in every blessing there is some loophole. And sometimes kids, the parents make some rules and they find some loopholes to get around the rules. So kids are often very good at finding loopholes. But Krishna is the ultimate loophole finder. So the form of Narasimha is, he found a loophole. And he came, and although there was some fight, and Hiranyakashipu thought that I am getting away with it. The Lord's anger was such that he could have immediately ripped Hiranyakashipu apart. But he was waiting. He was waiting till it was sunset. And when it was sunset, Hiranyakashipu thought, see, in this particular battle, Hiranyakashipu was smaller. Normally, the odds are against the devotees. But in Narasimha, he manifested a giant form. And Hiranyakashipu thought, I'm still winning. But then within a few moments, when the Lord saw it was sunset, it was twilight, he just grabbed Hiranyakashipu, dragged him to the place between the inside and the outside of the door. And there, now when he was dragging him along, Hiranyakashipu was trying to get out. Now, Hiranyakashipu had wanted to break the spirit of Prahlad. And Narasimha broke the spirit of Hiranyakashipu. Because for Hiranyakashipu, he said, I am so powerful, I can control everyone. And the Lord killed him. But before he killed him, he was completely dominated. It's like, sometimes two boxers, somebody thinks I'm a champion boxer. And then one boxer catches the other boxer in one deathly grip. Another boxer tries to grip and go away and can't do anything at all. It's reduced to complete helplessness. And then Lord Narasimha destroyed Hiranyakashipu. In our Bhaktivedanta hospital in India, there is in the operation theatre, they have a picture of Narasimha. So there was one non-Indian who came. Now, a lot of non-Americans or Europeans go to India for health tourism. They get surgeries done over there because it's cheaper there. So an American came there. He said, what is this? So this is the original surgery. So, was it successful? Yes, operation successful, patient liberated. So now, Lord Narasimha killed Hiranyakashipu. But he was very, very angry with Hiranyakashipu, but that anger was not toward the soul of Hiranyakashipu. And it was Prahlad also. He saw his father being killed. He did not feel joy. Oh, you tried to kill me, now you have been killed. Nor did he feel remorse. Oh, my father has been killed. That, what was his emotion? His emotion was concern. There could be joy. Oh, you tried to challenge me, my devotion. Just see what has happened to you. Sometimes some devotees get pleasure in some bad happening to those who are opposed to bhakti. Prahlad was not getting that joy. And at the same time, his emotion not, oh, people will think because of me my father was killed. His emotion not at all self-centered. His emotion was centered around his father's. He said, he later prayed to Narasimha, please deliver my father. And what did the Lord say? That Trisapta Pita Pita, that actually, that 14 generations of a devotee's family are purified because that person becomes a devotee. So for the Lord, although he was angry with Hiranyakashipu, that anger was not out of enmity. Hiranyakashipu thought Vishnu to be his enemy, but Narasimha did not see him as an enemy. He killed him, but he liberated him from his demoniac mentality. And Prahlad, this time when he was basking and bathing in the Lord's presence, the Lord smiling joyfully on him, the Lord blessing him profusely, the Lord seating him on his lap, the Lord putting his hand on his head, then the Lord getting up and putting Prahlad on the throne, says, you will be the ruler. Now, Prahlad got new joy in the fact that he became the king. His joy was that his Lord had appeared, his Lord had blessed him. So for him, even after he got the world did not suddenly become big for him. It still remained small, the Lord remained big for him. So there are times in our lives when we will see Krishna's hand in our life. We'll see things happen in such a way, this couldn't have happened without Krishna. There is synchronicity, there is what called serendipity. Things do happen. And there are things like that have happened in history. So when those happen, we gain conviction from those miracles. That actually Krishna is there and Krishna cares. And because Krishna cares, that is why it is not that he cared at that time, he doesn't care now. He always cares. So let me remember your smile amid my suffering as a sign of your confidence and competence. That you can tackle any and every problem, no matter how gigantic it seems to you. So last sentence, who would like to read this and finish with this?
Can you?
Yeah, please.
Make your smiling face, O Lord, never reduce my faith in humanity. Let it always reinforce my faith in your humility.
Yes. Not that the Lord doesn't care. If we are suffering and the Lord seems to be smiling, that doesn't mean he is not magnanimous, he doesn't care. It just means the Lord is having some plan, he's taking his time. He is capable. The Lord could have killed Hiranyakashipu anytime. The Lord let this time pass so that the world would know the glory of Prahlad. And how glorious is a devotee that in spite of so much danger and persecution, he maintained his devotion. So for all of us also, if we are going through suffering and the Lord doesn't seem to be answering our prayers, the Lord is purifying us. The Lord is bringing us internally to a better place. The Lord is never abandoning us. And that is the lesson of this pastime. That Krishna's love is the supreme reality. Sometimes it is seen through the actions that happen in the world. Many times it is seen through the actions and changes that happen in our heart. In how our heart stays steady in the love of our Lord. So I'll summarize. I talked about 3 main points. I talked about how do we understand the Lord's love as does Krishna care? Does the Lord care? That was the topic when we were discussing this. So normally, when we practice bhakti. Now we have a certain expectation. What is God doing for me? When we go through life, we practice devotion and we expect it to improve our worldly situation. And that's a reasonable expectation. But sometimes instead of improving the worldly situation, what happens is our situation may worsen. And at that time, how do we process that? So, if we look at the world itself, the world's evidence, it will sometimes strengthen our faith, because some things happen which can strengthen our faith. But many things can happen in the world which can weaken our faith. So that's why we cannot rely on the world for our faith. Then what do we do? We turn towards scripture. And there we discuss the divine dynamic, that there is the dynamic of love and anger. So the Lord is never having apathy, like there's no love and no anger. The Lord never has enmity towards anyone. So these two are not true at all. And what is true? That the Lord, when His love is there, but there doesn't seem to be any anger, there doesn't seem to be any concern, that is where the Lord gives us serenity. The Lord helps us to experience almost a mystical calm, even when the world is a turbulent place. So this is where what happens? We are here, and initially the world is big and God is small for us. But eventually what happens? As we grow spiritually, so eventually what happens is that the world becomes, for us, the world becomes small and Krishna becomes big for us. So this is the situation of Prahlad. This is a serious devotee. This is the situation of Indra, who represents more of a materialistic kind of devotee. So now this serenity comes because Krishna has become bigger than the world. And we see the last part. So when there are times when Krishna expresses intensity. Intensity is where the Lord's love becomes manifested in this world. So the Leela that is performed over here, this Leela and such Leelas, not one Leela, these should become the home for our thoughts. It is by remembering these things, these pastimes when the Lord intervened, that the Lord protected devotees. The Lord's protection became manifest at a material level, that they give us strength. Prabhupada in his journey to America says that it is reading the nectarian pastime, the Chaitanya Charan, that is giving me strength. So this becomes the home for our thoughts. And then with that, what happens? We accept that my finite vision is not the final vision. So we, with faith, with patience, we wait. We keep maintaining our devotion to the Lord, and that devotion will be vindicated. Just as Prahlad was glorified, the Lord had a bigger plan. Why he did not intervene at a particular time? Similarly, the Lord will intervene in His time. And the miracles that the Lord does, the miracles can sometimes be external, where the situation just changes dramatically. But the miracle can also be internal, where we can be peaceful even amid the chaos. The external miracle is the chaos just disappears, the trouble disappears. The internal miracle is that the trouble may remain, but we don't remain troubled. We may have it in trouble, but we live with pain rather than in pain, because we now live with our Lord. So let us pray to Lord Narasimha that, my dear Lord, the way you have demonstrated your Prahlad's love for you and your love for Prahlad, let this Leela become the home for my heart. Let me remember this historical evidence of your love for those who are devoted to you, and let that remembrance sustain me in times when I feel alone, when I feel the problems are overwhelming me. Let me remember you, O Lord, and find serenity and shelter and strength in that remembrance. Let's recite this once. My dear Lord, can you repeat after me?
My dear Lord,
let your smiling amid my suffering, strengthen my faith, not weaken it. नरसिम्हदेव भगवान की श्रील प्रहलाद महाराज की श्रील प्रभुपाद की गौर प्रेम।